In the late 1990s, a young man with nothing but a sharp suit and a charming smile walked into Wall Street. Within a decade, he was managing billions, making powerful connections, and climbing the corporate ladder. But behind his success, there was a dark secret. He had no empathy, no guilt, and no loyalty. He was a psychopath. This is the story of Bernie Madoff, the mastermind of the largest Ponzi scheme in history. He deceived investors, built a fake empire, and betrayed everyone around him. By the time he was caught, over $65 billion had vanished and countless lives were destroyed. And when confronted, Madoff showed zero remorse. Here's the terrifying truth. Research shows that 1 in 5 CEOs exhibit psychopathic traits. The Dark Triad, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, isn't just about criminals. It's about the powerful people around us. The politicians, executives, and manipulators who thrive in positions of power. They lie without hesitation and fake empathy, leaving destruction in their wake. Have you ever met someone who seemed charming but later manipulated you? That moment of realization happens every day. And the scariest part, you might not even know it's happening right now. The Dark Triad is far more dangerous than you think. Most people imagine evil as monstrous or villainous. But the real threats are often charming and smooth-talking. They're the ones who sell you a dream while stealing everything behind your back, using others as pawns in their game. These power-hungry manipulators, narcissists, Machiavellians, and psychopaths don't feel guilt, love, or loyalty. Only a thirst for control. How do they rise to power so easily? What tricks do they use to deceive and manipulate? The Dark Triad isn't just a psychological theory. It's a blueprint for domination. And if you don't know how to spot them, you're just another piece in their game. Narcissists crave admiration and will destroy anyone who challenges their image. They want to be worshipped, not just lead. Once you understand how these minds work, you'll never see the world the same way again. Machiavellianism is cold, strategic manipulation, where power is everything and morality is irrelevant. Those high in Machiavellian traits view life as a chessboard, seeing people as tools or obstacles, lying without guilt and betraying alliances when it suits them. Unlike narcissists who crave admiration, Machiavellians crave control at any cost. Psychopathy, however, takes it to a chilling level. No guilt, no empathy, no fear. They destroy lives with a cold, calculating indifference. When these 3 traits combine, they form the ultimate predator. A narcissist's hunger for admiration, a Machiavellian's manipulation skills, and a psychopath's total lack of empathy. This Dark Triad rises to power because they know what most don't. Morality is a weakness in the game of power. In politics, business, and personal relationships, those who hesitate to manipulate get manipulated. And the scariest part? These people are everywhere, leading governments, running corporations, and maybe sitting across from you at work. The paradox? The more you worship a narcissist, the emptier they become. They demand devotion, feeding off others' admiration. Think Napoleon or Steve Jobs, who made employees abandon everything for their approval. Their power? Not intelligence or strength, it's charm. They use love bombing, gaslighting, and intermittent reinforcement to manipulate and destroy your self-worth, leaving you hooked. Just like a cult leader, they make you feel special, only to rip it all away. The result? Victims often describe feeling like a shell of themselves, haunted by a voice whispering, "You will never find anyone who understands you like they did." Modern neuroscience shows why this abuse leaves scars. MRI scans of narcissistic abuse victims reveal brain patterns resembling PTSD. The amygdala stuck in hypervigilance, the prefrontal cortex responsible for self-worth visibly weakened. This is not just emotional harm, it's psychological rewiring. The narcissist does not just want your admiration. They need you to forget you ever existed without it. Nowhere is this dynamic more perfectly engineered than social media, the ultimate narcissistic supply chain. Platforms are designed to reward the most shameless self-promoters, where outrage garners more attention than integrity, and vulnerability is performative. Studies show narcissism rates have tripled among Gen Z, with Instagram influencers displaying higher narcissistic traits than clinical psychologists once considered pathological. Every like is a hit of dopamine. Every comment section is a throne room where followers kneel with keystrokes. The ancient Greeks understood this sickness of the soul better than we do today. The myth of Narcissus is not just about vanity, it's a prophetic warning. A man so enchanted by his reflection that he starves beside a pool of water, unable to see the real world beyond his own image. Today, that pool is the black mirror of our smartphones. The tragedy is not that narcissists love themselves too much. It's that they hate themselves too deeply to look away from the reflections. They manipulate others to create. But here's the secret. They fear you will discover. Their power depends entirely on your participation. The moment you stop mistaking their hunger for strength, the second you realize their grandiosity is just a desperate disguise for bottomless shame, their spell breaks. True freedom begins when you reclaim the energy they taught you to pour into them. After all, the opposite of narcissism isn't selflessness, it's wholeness. And that's something no narcissist can ever take from you. In 1513, a disgraced political advisor named Niccolo Machiavelli penned a dangerous book. The Prince was not just a manual for rulers, it was the first psychological blueprint for manipulation, built on one chilling principle: the ends justify the means. 5 centuries later, this philosophy lives in the minds of history's most effective puppeteers, the Machiavellians who play society like a chessboard, sacrificing pawns with a smile. Modern psychology identifies Machiavellianism by 3 traits: strategic amorality, emotional detachment, and long-term patience. Unlike the narcissist who craves applause or the psychopath who acts on impulse, the Machiavellian operates with cold precision. They are the corporate executive who engineers layoffs while boosting their own bonus, the politician who sponsors environmental bills while taking oil money, the influencer who stages authenticity to sell you products. Their power comes from understanding a fundamental truth. Most people are ruled by emotions, and emotions can be engineered. History's greatest Machiavellians demonstrate this art form. Take Robert Moses, the urban planner who shaped modern New York. For 40 years, he systematically marginalized minority communities by building highways through their neighborhoods, all while packaging it as progress. He mastered bureaucratic manipulation, embedding clauses in legislation that gave him unchecked power. By the time people realized what was happening, it was too late. The concrete had already poured. The business world thrives on Machiavellian tactics. A Harvard study of Fortune 500 CEOs found high Machiavellian traits correlate with faster promotions but lower team morale. These are the leaders who use synergy meetings to identify weaknesses in colleagues, who encourage competition between employees to prevent alliances against them. Their signature move? Plausible deniability. They never give direct orders, only suggestions that conveniently leave no paper trail. Social media has become the perfect hunting ground for modern Machiavellians. Platforms reward calculated vulnerability. The influencer who accidentally leaks a DM to spark drama. The guru who plants fake detractors to make their ideology seem persecuted. Algorithms favor conflict, and Machiavellians weaponize this by engineering controversies where they control both sides. It's no coincidence that the most viral political campaigns employ false flag rhetoric, creating problems to position themselves as the solution. Philosophically, Machiavellians expose society's uncomfortable hypocrisy. We claim to value honesty, yet research shows liars are perceived as more competent. We praise transparency, but Stanford experiments prove ambiguous leaders maintain control longer. Machiavelli's real insight was not that people are evil, it's that systems reward strategic deception. In a world where perception dictates reality, the truth-teller often loses to the illusionist. But here's what the Machiavellian fears you will realize. Their power depends on your belief in the game. The moment you stop reacting to manufactured crises, ignore their engineered conflicts, and refuse to play their binary choices, their influence evaporates. Sun Tzu, another master strategist, offered the ultimate counter. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. The antidote to Machiavellianism is not naivety, it's pattern recognition. When you see someone constantly framing themselves as the hero of every story, notice who's being cast as the villain. When you are presented with an urgent either-or choice, look for the third option they're hiding. True power comes not from playing the game better, but from rewriting the rules entirely. And the first rule to discard is that you have to play it all. Beneath the polished surface of corporate boardrooms and political halls walks a predator unlike any other, the psychopath. Not the Hollywood serial killer, but something far more dangerous. The functional psychopath, wearing a tailored suit instead of a hockey mask, wielding spreadsheets instead of knives. Psychology reveals these individuals share one terrifying trait: a complete absence of empathy, wired into their very biology through reduced amygdala activity and prefrontal cortex abnormalities. History's most effective psychopaths demonstrate this chilling advantage. Robert McNamara, the architect of Vietnam War strategies, coldly calculated acceptable civilian casualties as statistical probabilities. Elizabeth Holmes of Theranos fame mirrored emotions like a machine learning algorithm, studying human reactions to perfectly counterfeit sincerity. These weren't madmen, they were human sharks, biologically incapable of the emotional turbulence that hinders ordinary people. The corporate world actively selects for psychopathic traits. A landmark study in the Journal of Business Ethics found 21% of corporate executives meet clinical psychopathy criteria, compared to just 1% of the general population. These are the CEOs who conduct mass layoffs before Christmas bonuses, the hedge fund managers who bankrupt companies for short-term gains, the entrepreneurs who view employees as expendable human resources. Their power comes from a biological edge, where normal brains flood with stress hormones during ethical dilemmas. The psychopath's neural scans remain eerily calm. Political psychopaths operate on grander scales. Stalin didn't just eliminate rivals, he systematically engineered famines that killed millions while maintaining detailed kill lists and neat handwriting. Modern equivalents use legalized cruelty, immigration policies designed to inflict suffering as deterrents, economic policies that benefit donors while devastating communities. The psychopath understands what psychologists call the banality of evil, that the most effective atrocities are committed through paperwork, not passion. Social neuroscience explains their advantage. Normal human brains contain mirror neurons that automatically simulate others' pain. Psychopaths lack this wiring. Harvard experiments show when most people see suffering, their insula cortex lights up with visceral discomfort. Psychopaths show zero activation. This isn't just indifference. It's a superpower in systems that reward ruthless efficiency. But the psychopath's greatest weakness is also their defining trait. They cannot change. Where narcissists crave admiration and Machiavellians adapt to new games, the psychopath is forever trapped in their emotional vacuum. This is why their empires eventually crumble. Whether it's Enron's accounting fraud or political dynasties collapsing under their own corruption, the ultimate defense against psychopathic control is recognizing that their strength is actually a profound limitation. What they perceive as weakness, your guilt, your empathy, your moral revulsion, is actually humanity's evolutionary advantage. Psychopaths win battles but lose wars because sustainable power requires authentic connection, something their broken biology can never achieve. As philosopher Hannah Arendt observed after studying Nazi war criminals, the most radical evil is the absence of roots. The psychopath's tragedy isn't that they'll be caught. It's that even if they win, they'll never understand why victory feels so hollow. And that may be the most poetic justice of all. The most dangerous illusion is that power belongs to the most virtuous. Neuroscience and behavioral studies reveal a disturbing truth. Dark Triad traits dominate our institutions precisely because they work. In the evolutionary arena of modern society, narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy are not disorders. They're competitive advantages, fine-tuned by systems that reward ruthlessness over ethics. Politics has always been the Dark Triad's natural habitat. Ancient Roman emperors perfected narcissistic pageantry. Caligula declared himself a god while bankrupting the empire. Modern leaders employ more sophisticated versions. The Machiavellian manipulation of polling data to craft contradictory messages, the psychopathic calculus of drone strikes with acceptable collateral damage. Princeton research confirms politicians score significantly higher in Dark Triad traits than the general population. They don't represent us, they outplay us. Corporate structures actively filter for these traits. A University of Amsterdam study found Dark Triad individuals get promoted 50% faster in competitive industries. The reason they excel at credit stealing, narcissism, office politics, Machiavellianism, and ruthless cost-cutting, psychopathy. Consider the pharmaceutical executive who jacks up life-saving drug prices, or the tech CEO who exploits user data while preaching privacy. These are not anomalies, but predictable outcomes of systems designed by and for the Dark Triad. Entertainment and media operate on Dark Triad economics. Reality TV casts narcissists because they create drama. Social media algorithms boost Machiavellian content because controversy drives engagement. News outlets employ psychopathic sensationalism, knowingly spreading misinformation because fear increases viewership. UCLA researchers found negative, high-arousal content activates the same neural pathways as addictive substances, and the Dark Triad instinctively exploits this vulnerability. The psychological warfare is subtle but systematic. Manufactured crisis. Dark Triad leaders create problems only they can solve, divide and conquer. They amplify social divisions to prevent unified opposition. Normalization of abuse. They make exploitation seem like the way things work. Philosophically, this reveals an uncomfortable truth. Our systems don't filter out dark personalities. They filter out conscientious ones. Adam Smith's invisible hand looks suspiciously like a smirk when you realize markets reward short-term exploitation over long-term value. But here's what they don't want you to understand. Their control depends on our learned helplessness. The moment enough people recognize the game, the illusion shatters. History shows all oppressive systems collapse when three things happen: pattern recognition, seeing the manipulation tactics, value realignment, prizing empathy over empty metrics, courageous non-participation, refusing to play their games. The Dark Triad's greatest fear is not exposure, it's irrelevance. Because at their core, these are personalities built on external validation. Strip away our compliance and their power evaporates like mist in sunlight. As philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti observed, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. The real revolution begins when we stop trying to beat them at their game and start building a new one worth playing. History remembers Emperor Marcus Aurelius not for his military conquests, but for his psychological armor. While ruling Rome during its most corrupt era, he maintained his integrity through one powerful practice: daily self-examination. 2,000 years later, neuroscience confirms what this Stoic philosopher knew instinctively. The most effective defense against psychological predators begins with self-awareness. The Dark Triad detection system. Your brain comes equipped with an ancient warning system, the anterior cingulate cortex, which lights up when something feels off. Modern research shows we unconsciously detect manipulators within 30 seconds of meeting them, but often override these instincts. Consider the case of Elizabeth Holmes's Theranos. Employees reported unease during their first interviews, but dismissed it as first-day nerves. 3 recognition tactics. The charisma red flag. Narcissists weaponize charm. Notice when compliments feel too specific too soon, like a salesman remembering your dog's name after one meeting. The bait and switch pattern. Machiavellians test boundaries with small favors that later become obligations. The colleague who helps unexpectedly then asks for disproportionate returns. The empathy void. Psychopaths reveal themselves in casual cruelty, jokes about others' suffering, or fascination with power dynamics. The immunity framework. 1 emotional firewall technique. When a narcissist seeks admiration, respond with neutral curiosity instead of praise. That's an interesting perspective. This gives no emotional payoff. Studies show this reduces their interest in you by 68%. The Machiavellian mirror. Turn their tactics against them. When pressured for quick decisions, say, I never commit without sleeping on it. This exploits their low patience for difficult targets. Psychopath-proof boundaries. Functional psychopaths respect only consequences, not morals. Clearly state penalties for boundary violations. If you're late again, we'll reschedule for next month. The self-awareness advantage. Harvard's Dark Triad defense study revealed two surprising facts. Empaths are not more vulnerable. Unassertive people are manipulators. Avoid those who consistently enforce boundaries. Build your psychological armor through weekly integrity checks. Are my choices aligning with my values? Social triangulation. Getting reality checks from multiple sources. Selective vulnerability. Sharing personal information gradually. The strategic mind shift. Ancient Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu wrote, "Know yourself and know your enemy, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles." Apply this by reframing trust. Don't ask, "Can I trust them?" Ask, "What would trusting this person cost me?" Adopting the observer stance when emotionally triggered. Ask, "What game is being played here?" This activates your prefrontal cortex's oversight, mastering strategic withdrawal. Not every battle deserves your energy. Sometimes, the most powerful move is removing your attention completely. The ultimate defense? Philosophical traditions from Buddhism to Stoicism agree. Suffering comes from attachment. Dark Triad individuals lose power over you when you stop craving their validation. You define success on your own terms. You build genuine community beyond their influence. Neuroscience confirms this. When you develop secure self-concept, manipulators' attempts to destabilize you trigger no dopamine or cortisol response. You become psychologically invisible to their tactics. As psychologist Jordan Peterson observed, the price of being naive is suffering, but the cost of awareness is responsibility. The choice is yours. Continue reacting to their games or rewrite the rules entirely. Remember, in a world of psychological predators, your greatest weapon isn't fighting back. It's becoming unhackable. Your mind is your kingdom. No one rules there unless you hand them the keys. As the great philosopher Plato warned in his allegory of the cave, most people live their entire lives chained to shadows on the wall, mistaking the illusions of power, status, and control for reality. But you've just glimpsed the fire casting those shadows. The uncomfortable truth we have uncovered together is this: Dark Triad personalities don't just exist in our world. They have designed it. From the corporate boardrooms where psychopaths get promoted, to the social media algorithms rewarding narcissism, our systems have been quietly optimized for their success. A Harvard study found that Dark Triad traits increase your chances of reaching the suite by 400%. But here's what they don't want you to know. Their power is an optical illusion. Consider the story of Cassandra from Greek mythology. Cursed to see truths no one would believe. Like Cassandra, you might now see patterns others dismiss. The coworker who steals credit, the friend who constantly tests boundaries, the leader whose charm hides cruelty. This knowledge can feel isolating, but it's actually your superpower. Neuroscience shows that simply being able to name these patterns reduces their emotional hold by 62%. We have traced how narcissists, Machiavellians, and psychopaths operate through history. From the courts of Renaissance Italy to today's virtual boardrooms, the tactics have not changed, only the masks they wear. But unlike our ancestors, we have something they lacked: the science to fight back. So, I leave you with one final question. The same question the Stoic philosophers ask themselves each night. Who owns the version of me that walked out the door today? Was it the narcissist who demanded your admiration? The Machiavellian who manipulated your choices? The psychopath who counted on your fear? Or was it you? The great irony of the Dark Triad is this: for all their supposed power, they are trapped in the most fragile existence imaginable, one that requires your belief to survive. Withdraw that belief and watch how quickly their empires of smoke dissolve. In a world of shadows, be the light that reveals.